Alright, today I'm going to go over the Realms Unraveled set. Those who have followed my recommendations online have probably noticed that I recommend Realms Unraveled stronger than any other Ascension set. Sometimes people mistakenly say that it's my favorite set. That's not entirely true. It doesn't have the highest skill cap. Gift of the Elements has a higher skill cap, and I enjoy that one probably the most overall for my actual favorite set. The energy sets have a high skill cap. Storm of Souls and Immortal Heroes have very high skill caps. Deliverance, Delirium, all very high skill caps. The low skill cap games are Dawn of Champions and Valley of the Ancients. They're the ones that maybe get the least love from me. Physically, actually, energy sets get the least love. Sorry, I have a little bit of hiccups. I'm just going to go ahead and apologize once. Alright, maybe you'd have never noticed. No, I'm sure you would have. This is why you don't binge breakfast before streaming, but whatever. Alright, let's go through the monsters. First up is the Foundation Brewer. We have a whole bunch of these in the set, and they're one of the reasons I love the set so much, because we have 4 of these, and they're just a cultist that allows you to banish a card in the center row. Every set that offers center row banish and control is very high on my list of favorites. There is a lot of skill in choosing which card to get rid of, and it helps you pace the game. If your opponent has a very monster killing heavy deck, getting rid of the big important monsters can be critical. If they have a very high buying power deck, getting rid of the big cost things, or even if you have a buying power deck but they have more of one faction, getting rid of a big thing in that faction might just be a safe option. Yes, you'd have liked it yourself, but making sure no one got it might be the better option. Alright, so we've got 4 of those. Here is the next reason I really like it. We have 4 Borderland Mercenaries. Or, well, Nihilist. If you defeat it, you get no immediate reward, except for transforming it into this card. Now, since I use thick sleeves, I use the swap one out for one in, and just take this and set it to the side when I swap in a mercenary, and then I have to switch them out at the end of the game. To make it easy to swap out transforms, all the transforms have a silver border, and I do that one-to-one thing rather than putting this in the void. It's actually kind of important. There are a few things that count how many guys are in the void. This is not in the void once transformed. It's just gone. The set does come with double-sided transform cards, just in case you want to physically reach into the sleeve, take it out, and flip it over. I have a snack all you want policy at gaming. I don't try to obsess over keeping things in 100% nothing has ever contaminated it condition, and I find that more fun. But if you have everyone's fingers very clean and you don't mind them reaching in and flipping cards repeatedly, you can totally do that. Just one of the downsides to that is it's hard to see what they're going to get when it's transformed. For teaching new sets, this is kind of nice. Hello, this is Joseph. Hello? Alright, so continuing this on. Sower of Discontent. This is the first monster we're going to see with a key effect for Realms Unraveled. One of the reasons I like Realms Unraveled for new players particularly is it very, very strongly encourages you to pick one faction and hit it as hard as you can, or pick 2 factions and hit them as hard as you can. It doesn't want you to just spread out all of your buying to everything. The Sower of Discontent is a 2-point monster, but you get to name the faction that you've played the most of and get a bonus point for each of them you've played. If you manage to play 4 Void Heroes before killing this, you're going to get 6 points on this little 3-cost monster. That's very effective, and we have 4 of them in the set, so that's quite a lot of points that you can get on these Sowers. Next up, we have the Terrorizing Fiend. 2 points, draw 2 cards. This is a really good combo thing that sets off a lot of big combos in the game. Really hard to go wrong with that. Everyone likes the Terrorizing Fiend, but they also do this evil thing right underneath it by adding another 4 cost that's the exact opposite. Instead of setting up a big play now, it's just take 5 points for 4. When you have to debate between the value of 2 points and 2 cards, or 5 solid points, that can be a really agonizing decision. It's not always the right move to do one or the other. It's completely situational, and I like how often it seems to come up that you have one or the other as an option, and you're just like, oh, because we had 3 Fiends and 4 Giants. It's a lot of points wrapped up on low-cost monsters so far. Now we have the Wailing Spectre. 4 points, banish 2 cards in your discard pile. Not gonna lie, if I can banish and I have that 1 extra power, I'm taking 1 less point for the banish every time. We have 3 of those. They're pretty straightforward. They're a wonderful, wonderful card if you can get your thing called early. Now we have our 3 big cost guys. We have the Sower of Betrayal. 3 points raw, and then 2 for each faction of the type you've played the most. You get to name it. So, wow, can this be a massive card. Last night I was playing this set with some people actually teaching a newcomer, and I was getting destroyed right up until I managed to get 3 of the same faction and destroy 2 Sowers of Betrayal in the same turn. Since I'd played 3 of the same, I got 6 bonus points on top of the 3. So that was 18 points for my 12 power that I accumulated, and followed it up with some other big points too, and won by 2. This is a game-swinging card, just to have that one massive play all of the same faction and get rewarded. Alright, now finally we have what is either the biggest strength or the biggest weakness in this set. People argue quite a bit about which way a Dayu goes down. The only 7-cost monster transforms into a Dayu the Serene, which means I have to go flip out the next transforming card. A Dayu the Serene is a 6-point effect just for owning it. Does not help in the honor pool though, which is a possible weakness of it. I'm fine with that though, because you want to have an opportunity to play this. Where it's really cool is the fact that it's an all-faction card. So it sets off every other unite and multi-unite you have in your set, and you get 1 of every resource: buying power, killing power, points, and draw a card. Where it gets really bonkers is now every time you play another hero, you get something. If it's Mechana, you get a rune. If it's Void, you get a power. If it's Lifebound, you get a point. And if it's Enlightened, you draw a card. You haven't seen them yet, but Realms Unraveled has split faction heroes. You have Void Enlightened heroes. Now you're going to get a draw a card and a power from that. You have Mechana Lifebound. You're going to get a point and a buying power. It's just absolutely bonkers how big this can go if you have a Enlightened deck in particular. Because you're going to draw most of your deck by getting extra draws on what were probably already draw cards. Absolutely insane. I love it. Yes, it's going to mostly end the game in your favor when you get this card, if you get a chance to set off a big combo with it, but it is not enough to win. I have definitely seen people get a Dayu and not win. There are some crazy combos with being able to put a Dayu straight into play or getting other big transforms off of it. I don't mind having a crazy 100-point final turn every now and then. Some people just think, oh, well, why were the rest of us here? Well, they played the game to get to that point. I think that's okay. All Ascension is doing the balance between what benefits me now and ends the game and what it will give me high potential for an in-game push. Most Ascension games are won in the last 2 turns. This one just is your end-game, boom, there it is. Alright, that's it for Dayu. Now let's move on to the heroes. Well, not just the heroes, the cards from the other stuff. We're going to start with all the Mechana. And this is a thicker stack than you might expect it to be, because you also have the dual factions like Mechana and Lifebound and Mechana and Void, etc., etc. First of all, Disciple of Eluth. It's 1 rune, 1 power, but it has this really cool transforming effect that if you've already played a Mechana hero while it's in your hand, you can transform it permanently into a better version of itself. And the better version of itself is 2 runes and 2 power every time you play it, including right now because it was still in your hand. And it gains a point for having transformed it. Everything in this set, when you transform it, gains 1 single point. Some transforming sets gain 2. That would be Darkness Unleashed and the Deliverance, but that's what you can expect out of this. So let's get rid of these Disciples. Alright, Workshop Gargoyle. It's just a 2-cost construct for 2 points. Every time you buy a Mechana card, you get a point. It's relatively straightforward in its effect. It's alright, but it's not going to win you a whole lot of games. It might help influence your construct count, though. Matron of Discovery. 2 runes and multi-unite for 1 extra rune for every Mechana hero you play. Now we're starting to get interesting. I like that Realms gives multi-unite to every single faction. Every faction has a reason to want to play a lot more of that faction. Giving lots of runes wrapped up into just having a couple of these, if you have 2 of them, since they both become 3 and 3, you're already at 6 runes off 2 cards. Your buying power reach is going to go way up real fast. I'm okay with this. This is quite an awesome card because of its combo potential and its ability to transform things like the Disciple. Alright, then we have the Wild Gear Druid. I'm actually a huge fan of this one. Not only is it going to give you 2 runes like a Mystic, if you have 2 constructs, you're going to get 2 points. It's Mechana and Lifebound, so it can help with both kind of triggers and transforms. It is not hard to get 2 constructs in this. And now that we're through the monsters, I can point out another newbie-friendly thing in this set. You might have noticed there is not a single monster that destroys opponent constructs. You know the value of a construct when you buy it in Realms Unraveled on its own. It's going to go into play, and it's going to sit there the entire game. Nothing can ever change that. Sometimes you play with new players, and they invest in these big fancy Mechana constructs, which are really awesome, and then they get them into play, and you destroy them right away. And then they spend time cycling it, they draw it, they get it put back into play, and the game's over. It's like, oh, well, I thought that was going to be an awesome card, and honestly, it was a dead card in my hand twice and just 6 points at the end of the game. That's alright, but I wanted more. You know what you're getting into in Realms. Alright, so easy way to get points, easy way to have plenty of constructs. There it is. Then we have the Defense Generator. I'm actually a huge fan of that. This one is 2 power. Every time that you buy a Mechana construct, once per turn that is, it's a great way to be able to get that extra little power to kill a lot of these 3, 4, and 5 cost monsters, which are most of the set. It was very balanced towards that middle end on power. Just having a little bit of power in your hand, and then finish it up by buying a Mechana if one happened to be available. And like I said earlier, with how thick this stack is, there's more Mechana cards available because of the dual faction thing. Alright. Next up is the Secluded Laboratory. Secluded Laboratory does nothing. It just sits in play until you can play 2 Mechana heroes in the same turn. Then it becomes a 0-point reactor and starts being epic. 2 runes every single turn for the rest of the game. If you can get this transform early enough, you're going to go really far. It's as simple as that. And there's 2 of them. Every faction is going to have a 4-cost construct that does this. All the others are going to be worth 3 points, but the Mechana formula has to be worth 4 points, and then 1 more if you transform it. Really nice card if you can have enough Mechana to do it. Alright. Nightmare Delver. Here's our first Void card we're going to talk about because we have a Mechana Void hero. 2 runes. If you have 2 constructs, banish a card in your discard pile. I love Banish. You'd think I'd say really, really great things about this. Unless you already have Void transforming things, I actually don't have a lot good to say about this. Since it's discard only and not hand, and there are so many other more mileage for your cost cards in this set, I don't put this as a very strong 4. This is actually maybe, now I'm thinking through it, it might be the weakest 4 cost in the set. I really can't think of anything weaker than that. Alright. We got 3 of those, helping fill out our Void and our Mechana count in the set. Here we go. Here's the nonsense. Cannon Templar. 2 runes. Defeat a monster that has a cost equal or less than the biggest rune cost construct you control. Interesting side note, if you're playing with Dreamscape constructs have a 0 rune cost, so this will do nothing no matter what the construct is. Fair warning, you've been warned. But the Cannon Templar, it's really easy to have like a 4 cost construct. There's so many of them in this set, and be able to kill most of these monsters for free every single time you play it. You do have to kill the monster the moment you play it, so sometimes you end up with just a cultist as an option because you haven't bought anything yet and you need that 2 runes to buy what you want. That's alright, it's not a big deal. The fact that the cannon can go all the way up to a 7 cost construct and defeat even a Dayu for free, this guy is an absolute monster. Buy him, banish him, or cry. Big swings on the Cannon Templar. Highly recommend it. And then Enlightened and Mechana are probably the 2 most powerful. Actually, they are the 2 most powerful in this set. I'll go ahead and say it. Everything is conditionally great, but these 2 are always solid. Alright, here is possibly one of the highest balanced 5 cost constructs in all of Ascension. As a first round buy that's going to make you win the game, I feel like Dreamer's Glass and Storm of Souls is one of those ridiculous, if you get that first round and you play it well, you're just going to slaughter your opponent. If you get a Hadron Watchtower, every time you buy a Mechana card, or the first Mechana you buy each turn, you get star equal to its star value. So if you buy, I don't know, an Air Support Squadron, not only do you have this card, not only do you get 6 points at the end of the game, you get 6 honor right now. Where that gets crazy is being able to end the honor pool while buying so efficiently. You're going to actually hit a higher ratio of benefit than a Void strategy killing monsters and getting points will. Because the Void strategy, getting those monsters, is going to keep up with you in honor, but the Hadron Watchtower is going to get ahead on your deck value as well as gaining that honor. This card is nuts. Very much enjoy it. Very much recommend fight for it. Air Support Squadron. This one's interesting. When you acquire a Mechana card once per turn, you can put it straight into your hand. You really can't go wrong with just playing constructs the moment you buy them, or getting to buy an extra hero and play it right away. Maybe get that guy that gives you 2 points because you have 2 constructs and a little bit of runes back from his cost. Things like that are solid. Where it gets really great is if you've already played a Mechana and you warp a 1 cost Mechana transform them immediately into that Scion, or, I don't know, this says it's all factions, so if you transform and kill a Dayu, you can put him straight in your hand and go crazy this turn. Air Support sets up a lot of really big plays. Don't undervalue this card at all. Now we have Alset. This is our next transforming card. He's a 3 rune guy that costs 6. Normally 3 runes should really only cost you 5 in the power creep we've seen in Ascension, because this is one of the middle sets. I think this is set 7 actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, this is set 7. But it has this transform effect. If you have 2 constructs, doesn't even have to be Mechana, transform it. When it transforms, it becomes this reactor guy. And the reactor is 4 runes, and if you buy a construct, you can put it straight into play. Not to your hand, by the way. Every once in a while, it actually matters that you didn't play it from your hand. It went straight into play because you did not, quote, play it. You just put it into play. That is different and kind of weird and subtle, but I'm just going to make that note here. It matters for certain things and other set combinations. Anyway, that's Alsat. Very solid card. Not ridiculous, but quite solid. Upgrade Foundry. The biggest thing the Upgrade Foundry does for you is be a 7 cost construct for your Cannon Templar to go crazy. The other thing that it does is every time you buy a Mechana, you're going to get to draw 2 cards. You can't really go wrong with that. That's a pretty great effect. Alright, let's move right on into Lifebound, starting off with another transform. The Disciple of Cetra. Every one of these is going to have one of these 1 cost guys that does something and transforms to a better version of itself. Being Lifebound, it's all about runes and honor. So you get 1 and 1. If you can play a Lifebound before it, you get 2 and 2. Very solid, very simple. Everbloom Click. Do not undervalue the Everbloom Click. It seems like a rather weak card at first. Cost 2, gives you 2 honor when you play it, but it helps your deck build not at all unless you just needed Unites. But it has the multi-unite, 1 for each Lifebound hero you play. Fair warning, if you play this with Immortal Heroes, there is a Lifebound event that allows you to use a Fanatic to name that a certain card is Lifebound this turn. And you can name, oh, I don't know, how about Apprentice? And then play your starting hand along with an Everbloom Click and get 4 bonus points. Yep, that gets crazy quick if you can get an Everbloom right in the beginning of the game and the correct Ogo Rising event is out. Just fair warning, that exists. It's a thing. Wolf Shaman. Gain 1, draw a card. This is a reprint from, I believe the base set had this, or Return of the Fallen. I'm not going to super swear by it. I'm pretty sure it was the base set, though. Really solid card. You can't go wrong with a free rune that didn't hurt your hand and played an extra Lifebound for you. Helps set off a lot of combos. Timestream Seer. Here is our Enlightened Lifebound combo. 2 runes, banish a card in the center row. I highly value this because it's another pace change card. You get to control how long the game's going to go by banishing big cost or big monsters. It's all what you want to do with it. You can get rid of the faction that your opponent is doing the most instead of hate buying, and that lets you build and them not. Animus of the Wild. Here is probably one of the most important 4-cost cards in the set. So far as big heroes are concerned, you've seen the Alsat and the Cannon Templars, which are good, but they're not crazy. All of the other factions have absolutely nonsense 7 and 8 cost type cards. The Animus, being 3 runes towards heroes, is going to make that so much easier, and 3 runes on a 4-cost card is great. Doesn't help you towards constructs, but when you're buying constructs, you're not going to be too worried that you wasted 1 extra power. You're just going to be really happy when you can get that stretch to a big hero. Deathbound Druid. Here is our Lifebound Void combo. 3 points and banish a card in your discard pile. Again, this is a discard only effect, so the banish isn't as strong as it should be, but 3 points is really solid. Getting that repeatedly as you're banishing and you're setting off Lifebound and Void triggers, if you've got some Lifebound and or Void transform effects, they're all going to be giving you massive power or massive point gain. This is going to be so good in combination that just getting those transforms a little earlier is well worth adding this to your deck. Otherwise, it's a hit and miss card on whether it's going to kill your big buying turns, kill your big killing turns, or set off everything you've ever wanted. I like it. I really do. It fits my style more than most players. Now we have the transforming 4-cost Lifebound construct. It does nothing until you play 2 Lifebound in the same turn, and then it starts giving you 2 points every single turn. And there are 2 of these. Yesterday one of our players doubled down on 2 of these. He didn't get them transformed quick enough, but if he was gaining 4 points every single turn for the rest of the game just a little earlier, he couldn't draw his Lifebound in the same turn. They just kept getting split 1 in every single hand for the whole game. It's unfortunate, but there's a big payoff for this if you get it early, especially since he had Snapdragon Witch in his deck. Snapdragon Witch gives you a point, then draws a card, and then it checks if you have more honor than every other player. This is important because if you both have 20 honor, you play this card, you gain 1 before the check, so now you do get to draw a bonus card. Regardless, it's always going to draw a card. It's 3 points at the end of the game, 1 point every time you play. It's not terrible. It's not as good as the version in the base set that gives you 2 points each time, but that one doesn't offer the extra card draw bonus. If you're in the lead, you want this. If you're not in the lead on honor, you don't want your opponent to have it. Draw 2 cards and gain a point? That's quite great. Snapdragon is a very sought-after card. Not as much as the Cannon Templar for the 5 costs we've seen, not as much as the Hadron Watchtower, but it's up there. Okay, Remus. Here is our next big transform thing for 6. If you have gained 3 honor already this turn, transform it from gaining just 3 runes to getting this bonus effect, 3 runes, and you can spend runes as power. This is actually the way that I killed those 2 Sowers of Betrayal last night that I was talking about earlier and got that 18-point swing, 9 and 9. Remus is a really great way to get points. You build your deck, you have your Lifebound gain, you have your big rune deck, even if you don't actually have a killing deck, but you use a cannon to kill a monster that was worth enough points to transform it, and now your whole deck is power if you want it to be. You can end the game really quick and on your terms. Highly recommend the Remus. But now is our first chance to see the crazy good 7 cost things. Cetra. Once per turn, acquire a hero without paying its cost and put it on top of your deck. Multi-Unite. You may repeat this. Here's an important note for people that are playing physically versus online. If you play Cetra online and you've already played some Lifebound, you must immediately put heroes on top of your deck equal to the times you multi-unite. If you play another Lifebound later in the turn, as soon as you've finished resolving that Lifebound's effect fully, you then immediately have to put a hero on top of your deck. This is not true in the physical game. In the physical game, it stresses this in the rulebook under frequently asked questions. You can use the multi-unite at any time during your turn. Most multi-unites are resources, like extra buying power, extra killing power. So you just use them right away, and it doesn't matter because your resources sit in the pool until spent. But Cetra, you can wait, fish for more options, or draw the card you just stacked because you stack a Lifebound, draw it, knowing that you're going to be able to queue up another instant grab anyway. It might as well have been free as long as you combo them well. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff with this. Highly recommend that you do. This should be a game-winning card for you. I had it in my deck last night, and the only thing I did was stack a Remus, then transform the Remus. I didn't get much use out of it, but it still set up one of the biggest plays in the game for the Remus transform. Alright, moving on to Enlightened. Fair warning, Enlightened is probably the craziest faction in this set. Nope, that is the craziest faction. If you play it vanilla, and I recommend you make one small change to the set. We'll talk about that in a minute when it comes up. Disciple of Ozaya. Kill a monster that costs 3 or less. If you can play an Enlightened beforehand and transform it, it becomes kill a 5 or less, which is everything except for 3 monsters in the set. That Scion is absolutely a monster killer. Oh wait, that's what it does. Yeah. Anyway, very solid card. Highly recommended. Fills out your amount of Enlightened things in your deck. Just killing those borderland mercenaries to be able to have more ways of naming the faction you need at the moment. Really solid card. I normally pick this up. There are a lot of sets that I don't pick up the instant kill Enlightens because they don't work towards a coherent build. Alright, Journeyman Outrider. Acquire a hero or construct to cost 5 or less without paying for it. That's pretty great. It does limit you to only 5 cost cards, and it doesn't help you build for big kills or for big buys. If you get it early and you're planning to go Void, Lifebound, Enlighten combo, you're going to be good. It's going to be worthwhile. But if you're planning to go for big Mechana, big Enlightened, and those couple big Lifebounds, this might not actually be as good as you think it is. It's going to hold you back on a lot of your mid-game turns. But it's still hard to argue with gaining a 5 cost card for free. Up to you to figure out where its limitations are. Neophyte Mentor. Draw a card, and the next time you play a Mystic or Heavy Infantry, you get to name what faction it counts as. Note that you cannot, if you play 2 of these, I have both of them in play and then I play a Heavy Infantry, I get to name 2 different factions. I cannot name the same faction twice. If I play one of these and then I play a Heavy Infantry and name something, let's say I name Enlighten, then I play another one afterwards and play another Heavy or another Mystic, I can name Enlighten a second time. You just have to not play them at the same trigger in order to be able to get the same faction more times on these Ever Ready cards if you have them. Solid, doesn't hurt you to have it, is normally not super awesome unless the center row was stalled at the beginning, but it's there and it's an option for you. Scryer of the Lidless Eyes. This is a great card. Draw 2, discard a card. As long as you discarded an Enlightened, you're going to return it straight to your hand. Even if you didn't, you get to choose. Do I need one less Apprentice because I'm not spending that anyway? One less Militia because I can't kill anything anyway? Absolutely wonderful way to cycle your deck a little faster. Quite frequently you're going to find that you're discarding things like the Scion and just getting it right back anyway. Really easy to make this card work great. I feel like this goes into my in-game power swing cards. Really is that great. These set up longer, bigger combos at the end of the game. Forgotten Scripture. Here's another big combo card. On its own, does nothing. Once you transform it by playing 2 Enlightened in the same turn, which is easier than most factions because most of the Enlighteneds have draw on them, it becomes draw a card every turn. Having a 6th card is good. Having a 6th card in Realms Unraveled is often way better than you think it is. One more faction of the same type, one more reach towards those big cards. I am a huge fan of getting that. Alright, here's where we need to talk about changing Realms Unraveled. Here is the one gigantic weakness of it. The Sage of Lucid Dreams, also known as Broken McBrokenstein, says once per turn, you banish a card in your hand to acquire a hero with an honor value 1 more than the card banished. So turn a starter card into a 1 honor card. Sometimes you turn them into another Enlightened, sometimes you turn them into a Wolf Shaman, sometimes you turn them into a Mystic or Heavy. But then, you get to turn around and multi-unite. Every time you've played an Enlightened this turn, and again, this is a trigger you can hit anytime you wish to. You don't have to trigger it the moment you have 2 Enlightened down. You can wait till later in the turn, change the options in the center row, and then do something. I've even had 3 triggers on this and turn a starter into a Mystic, turn the Mystic into a 2-cost, and turn that 2-cost into one of the 6 guys that has a 3 honor value, transforming a Remus or a Alsat immediately. There are some really, really big combos on the ability to power up the same card multiple times by keep banishing it. They straight up designed this card while they were in Amsterdam. I will let you draw your own conclusions on why they made something so crazy. In fact, there is a promo card that is effectively the same thing. This is an attempt at using my digital tablet for this. It is banish a hero in your hand, acquire a card with 1 value more than that, and put it straight into your hand. It costs 4, it's worth 2 honor. You get to do that effect exactly once. The Sage of Lucid Dreams is the same cost, the same points, the same exact effect, but you can multi-unite it as many times as you can when playing Enlightened. In case you don't know, promo cards are supposed to always be more powerful than a standard card of the same type. The promos are supposed to be big, exciting, huge combos. Well, they screwed up and made the most exciting promo of all not a promo, which is why they also printed in the collector's edition a promo card to replace this. And the digital edition was like, oh, that card is so broken that they just replaced it and they don't even make it exist anymore. Now it's replaced with Ozias Familiar. I should have pulled it out of my collector's set to show you what it looks like physically, but I'm just going to do this. Defeat a construct of cost 4 or less without paying its cost. The multi-unite is repeat this effect. Even if you just slaughter a whole bunch of cultists, every time you played Enlightened, you're getting at least 1 point, possibly more, from this. This is also a really powerful card, but it doesn't help your deck build. That's the main balance of Ozias Familiar, is it doesn't help your deck build any higher. The Sage of Lucid Dreams makes your deck build explode in seconds, because you literally get rid of the best card in your hand to turn it into an Enlightened instead. Oh look, I've got a 2-cost or a 2 honor Mechanic card. I'm just going to banish that right now. I'm going to banish this thing and turn it into a 3-point thing that happens to be Void. Yay! Now I've played another Void, so I get to upgrade again. and you just go crazy and crazy and crazy with it. It is nuts. So the two things you can do are either get the collector's edition, buy Ozias Familiar separately, print your own version of it, say that every time this comes up you're playing Ozias Familiar's effect, which is goofy, but you can do it that way if you wish to, or you can house rule it. One house rule is to turn it into the promo card and delete the multi-unite entirely. A second house rule is to turn multi-unite into single unite. You do the effect once, you can combo it up to one more time. That's still going to be ludicrously powerful, but it's not going to destroy everything you've ever dreamed about. This card destroys the game by being so powerful. If I play and I don't have a Ozias Familiar handy, I actually just take these two and I take them out. The Lifebound or the Enlightened set is still going to be powerful enough with 2 cards down. There's enough of them in the set. You just pretend that it was randomized to the bottom of the deck. It's not going to kill your play. I don't recommend playing with it in, though. It's just so stupid. It'll be exciting the first few times you realize how long and how big the combo can go. If you want to play it that way, by all means. Voidforge Paladin. 2 power. Next time you defeat a monster, draw 2 cards. That is awesome. It really shouldn't say first time. It should say next time. There is some argument about if I kill a terrorizing fiend, it's the first monster I kill, I draw 2 cards. One of them is the Voidforge Paladin. I play the Voidforge Paladin. Does that mean I get to immediately draw 2 cards because I've already defeated a monster? And the answer is always no to that one. But then you defeat another monster. Well, it's not the first monster you defeated this turn, but it is the first time you defeated a monster since playing it. And the answer is it does trigger the Voidforge when you kill a monster the first time after it is played. It really should just be treated as the next to make your life easier. It does technically grammatically work the other way, it's just a little annoying. This is a really great combo card. 2 points on a 5 cost, or 2 power on a 5 cost card might make you feel a little bad. You're like, oh, you should have given me 3 power or something. But the draw 2 cards is such a big combo effect that this is a well-balanced, well-placed card. Alright, now for the first big Enlightened. Dartha, reveal the top card of the center deck. Acquire it or defeat it for free. Multi-Unite, every time you've played an Enlightened this turn, repeat that effect. And you can do that at any time during the turn. There are actually turns that get so big in this set that you might be intentionally waiting to multi-unite this when you know what's on the center deck. What? How would you do that, Joe? Well, with one of the Void Heroes, you can put things back into the center deck in the order you want them to be, and then make sure they're the top card. You just have to mill the entire center deck before you do that. Your turn has to be that epic. But it does happen. Alright. Veer, the Ascetic Master. I am not going to lie to you. Veer looks like a spectacular card. Costs 8, gives you 6 points. When you play it as a default, you just straight up put a card in the center row straight into your hand. It has to be a hero, though. If you can transform it by playing one of every faction, you get acquire every hero in the center and put them into your hand. Wow. This is actually weaker than you think it is. The chances that you can manipulate the center row, buying all the constructs, killing as many monsters as you can before you put everything into your hand, or before you buy one big thing, maybe you can play it, pick up a Dartha and set that off. There are good combos from it, but it on itself doesn't set off nearly as much big plays as a Dartha or a Cetra or an Emery from the Void faction we're about to see. Hate to burst the bubble on this big guy. He's not as good as you think he is, but he is solid. Also note that if you play each faction, one of the easiest ways to satisfy that is play a Dayu right before you play him. Alright, final faction is Void. The Disciple of Emery just banishes a card in your discard pile and has 1 power, but if you can transform it first, it becomes a 3 power, 1 cost card. You can't go wrong with that. Even buying this early in the game just to get a tiny bit of banish and almost nothing else, maybe 1 point from a militia combo, but then you eventually transform it and it becomes a big part of your deck's killing, well worth it. Spike Vixen, 1 power, draw a card, another repeat from the first set. It's solid. It does exactly what it needs to do, and it keeps your deck cycling. All of the draw cards in Realms Unraveled are one of the reasons that the set goes so crazy. It's easy to set off Unite and multi-Unite when you have draw cards prevalent. Speaking of draw cards, Shadow Stalker. This text is very important. You banish a card in your discard pile, then you draw. Because if you have no deck, you do get to call, then you get to shuffle and draw from the new, slightly thinner deck. There's 2 of those. It's good for your Unites, it's good for your Banish, it doesn't really hurt you, but it's not big and flashy. It's not the 3 cost I normally go for first unless I've already invested in Void. Death Dealer Noble. Here's our first Void multi-Unite. Gain an extra power for every Void you play. That gets big, and that gets big fast. It plus a Scion of Imri alone is just 6 power. That's going to kill everything but a Dayu. There's very little I can say to make that sound better than it is. It's just 2 cards in your hand, suddenly you're killing all the big stuff. A Death Dealer Noble and a Voidforge Paladin is immediately 5 power, and now you're almost certainly going to be able to kill something and draw at least 2 more cards. The Initiate's Gauntlet is exactly what you think it is at this point. The Mechana one transformed to 2 runes. The Lifebound one did it to honor, and the Lightened became draw a card. The Void one is going to be 2 power. It's a pretty simple formula for how these go once you transform them. Getting that extra power every single turn is going to always make sure you're killing something important, or at least picking up an extra point for Cultist. I would rather have the 2 power than the 2 points from the Lifebound. You're more often going to be able to convert it into higher points. At the very least, you're getting one of the 2. Losing 1 point in a turn because all I had were Cultists is well worth the opportunities you do pick up. Blackwatch Exemplar. I'm a big fan of this card. It might not jump out at everyone the same way it does to me, but 3 power is an instant kill on a lot of these big things. The Borderland Mercenaries, the Sowers of Discontent, but the multi-unite to banish some cards as many times as you can play Void, that goes off really easily mid-game, and getting 1 or 2 extra banishes, your deck's going to get much more likely to set off every Unite you have, transform everything you've got, and go crazy. And now we have one of my favorite cards, Mr. Imri. Imri is a 4 power card. That's all he does, unless you can get 8 monsters in the Void. Again, remember that if you've transformed a monster, the original is not in the Void. If you have banished it from the center row, the original is in the Void. But if you get up to 8 monsters in the center row, you transform into Demon's Bane, you get 5 power instead of 4, and you can defeat monsters in the Void. When you do defeat them, put them on the bottom of the center deck, which is where that crazy combo with Dartha comes. You defeat a Sower of Discontent or Betrayal, get your huge number of points because you've played a lot of Void or a lot of Enlighten that turn, then you stick it on the bottom of the center, then you trigger the Imri effect, defeat the top card of the center, which is the one you just put on there because you made the center deck be empty. Note that if the center deck is empty and needs to draw, then you shuffle the Void and you lose all of your ability to do this Imri thing. But it's still really effective. You often use this to pick up Terrorizing Fiends, a couple points and a couple cards, and set off big combos. Anyway, that's all of Realms Unraveled. No construct destruction. All the constructs are very simple and easy to value. Every faction encourages you to have more of that same faction. There are huge in-game combinations that can get played for big, exciting turns. What you want in Ascension is for a new player to come in, realize what the factions do, realize how the different resources of honor and runes and power work, and then try to figure out the pacing puzzle of which cards are going to let me be in the best position, deck value plus honor value at the end of the game. The fact that you can wait and have the worst deck, be losing, and boom, there was a 35-point turn, and now I win by a couple points. Yay! Awesome! You also have the ability to have just steamrolled it by gaining all the honor, all the draw extra cards from Snapdragons, and the game ends and you were ahead because you just controlled it so well. Everything is here. Of all the games, I don't think Realms Unraveled has the strongest rush the end of the game strategy with the honor and power kill monsters in the honor pull fast. There are so many explosive in-game cards that you have to have some kind of build arc to your own set. Everyone's going to need to at least set off some big multi-unites towards the end and some transforms to have a good shot. I like that. But even the quick arcs just transform a lot of cheap stuff and get some big effects out of them. Banish harder, go to town. It's wonderful. Very much enjoy this set. Very much recommend it. Physically, I do recommend you do something about that Sage of Lucid Dreams. If you want to keep it in play and see just how ludicrous it gets, by all means. When players are new, they might not use it to full effect, or they might pause thinking through their turn really hard trying to figure out how to make the combo work. That's not ideal either. You don't want turns to go too long so other players lose interest. Same thing with a Dayu. If you set off enough a Dayu combo that you're drawing almost your whole deck and you are already in the lead before that point, sometimes it's better for the players to look at their current hand if they get another turn, show it and say, hey, I'm not going to have nearly a good enough turn. Can we just call the game and not count? That's fine. Don't feel bad doing that. But also make sure you ask them, do you want to count? Sometimes someone who just played the best game of their life and had the biggest combo, they really want to see, did I crack 200 points? Did I crack 300 points? How far did you go? One of my most favorite games I've ever played of this, I played a Realms Unraveled base set, and I did the Emery thing to stack the center deck and keep defeating a guy in the center for what I wanted for the sower. Then another sower flips out, so I defeat him in the void to put him back on top of the deck. Then I defeat him in the center. Then that one I just defeated and put on the center deck comes back out, and I just kill those sowers over and over for huge combo points. I got up to like 465 points. Then my opponent had one last turn, played every Enlightened in his set, every last one of them, and then played Dartha. And he used Dartha and Ozaya to kill all the 3-cost sowers, get a whole bunch of points for all these Enlightened he'd played, and fill the void full of sowers. Then used Dartha just to defeat that one sower I'd left on top, shuffle the void, and kill mostly sower after sower after sower with a few draw cards and a few just straight 5 honor cards mixed in. But he got such a big combo on Dartha killing all of those things using the exact center deck setup that I did that he beat me. And I had a losing score of 465 points. That was one of my favorite moments. This set on its own can go that crazy. I've also had this set go all the way up to an 8,300 something game. That was just to see how far it could go. It was digital and it did take me about 20 minutes just to execute. Not exactly what you want a physical turn to look like, and you don't want a piece of paper to count the 300 power you just gained. Alright, I'm done talking about it. I highly recommend this set. It mixes well with everything because every set has an equal amount of the same faction, so every multi-unite's going to be just as incentivized. This is going to lower player interaction with the no monsters affect each other. So if you have players that are just not into the direct smacking each other, then this makes a great mix to weaken that effect in other sets. If you have players that don't like the passiveness of it and the explosive build, then play something else. If you want a tight, controlled game that doesn't have nearly as explosive an endgame, play Storm of Souls. If you want a game that hits its power spike much earlier, play Gift of the Elements. There's a set out there for everyone, mostly, but if you don't like any aspect of Realms Unraveled, you're probably not going to like any aspect of Ascension. That's one of the main reasons I recommend it so strongly. You're going to either find very small nitpicky things that you didn't like as much, but you're going to have overall enjoyed your experience, or you're just not going to like Ascension. It's not going to be built for you. Alright, stopping recording.